Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my first 2023 NFL mock draft. Before we get started, this mock draft simulator is Pro Football Network, so if you want to check it out, go to profootballnetwork.com. And also, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now, I'm sitting at 12 subscribers, which is really good for how far this channel has come in the short amount of time it's been going. And yeah, only 8 subscribers and we'll reach my goal. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. With the number 1 overall pick, I feel like the Houston Texans have a need at quarterback. Obviously, Davis Mills got benched. And yeah, I feel like they're definitely going to go quarterback here. And I feel like they're going to take the best quarterback on the board with Bryce Young. He has some issues with his height and his size, but I feel like his playmaking ability is enough for the Houston Texans to take him here. With the number 2 overall pick, the Chicago Bears have a need at defensive end / outside linebacker after trading Robert Quinn. But they do need some players on the inside of their defensive line, but I feel like Will Anderson is too good to pass up on, and yeah, I feel like they'll take him here. At the number 3 overall pick, I feel like the Seattle Seahawks, they don't really need to take a quarterback here with Geno Smith playing so well. I feel like they can push that into another draft year or two to take quarterback, but yeah, I feel like they're going to pass on CJ Stroud and take Jalen Carter here, which is probably the best player on the board right now. At the number 4 overall pick, the Lions have a need at quarterback. Jared Goff hasn't played horribly, but he hasn't played great either. So that is why I feel like they're going to take CJ Stroud, who's probably in contention for the number 1 overall pick. He's drawn comparisons to Jared Goff with his accuracy and pocket presence. And yeah, I feel like this would be a great fit to learn behind Jared Goff for a season or two. And yeah, I feel like that's what they're going to do. At the number 5 overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles have a luxury pick here. They are the best team in the NFL right now and have a top 5 overall pick. And I feel like they have a need at defensive end / edge rusher. And I feel like Myles Murphy is the best one on the board right now. He is a great player, and I feel like his athleticism and player traits are going to transition to the NFL very well. The number 6 overall pick, the Carolina Panthers have a need at quarterback. There are 2 on the board right now with Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. But I feel like Will Levis, he's an older prospect, but he has a great arm. But with Anthony Richardson, he's drawn comparisons to Josh Allen with his boom or bust potential. I feel like this was enough to get Carolina on board to even take him, even if it's just a tiny % chance he can be the next Josh Allen. I feel like they're definitely going to go for it, and yeah, I feel like he has a ton of stuff to work on, but his athleticism and player traits are just too much to pass up on. The number 7 overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars have their choice here. They could go wide receiver with Quentin Johnson, but after trading for Calvin Ridley, which is showcased in my trade deadlines video if you want to check that out, I feel like they don't really have too big of a need at wide receiver, and they could go with the best tight end on the board in Michael Mayer, I feel like that's what they're going to do. He's drawing comparisons to Rob Gronkowski, which is incredible for him. And I don't feel like this is too big of a reach here. I feel like he's in contention to go with the top 15 picks. And even though it may be a slight reach, with that comparison, I feel like that's definitely going to compel them to take him. At the number 8 overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals are a team with some needs. They have a need at corner. They have a need at offensive tackle. But I feel like with their offensive line struggles, their offensive line is not great and is just getting older by the year. And they have an older offensive line. They don't have great players on the line. And I feel like they're going to take the best offensive lineman on the board here with Paris Johnson. With the number 9 overall pick, the Indianapolis Colts are a team which I feel like are definitely going to take quarterback. I'm not completely for sure, but I feel like they're going to go with Will Levis. I feel like he's the best quarterback on the board and has potential to go with maybe even the top 5 picks if teams are willing to trade up for him. And yeah, I feel like they're just going to go with the strong arm of Will Levis. He has decent accuracy. They can work on that though, but he has decent mobility and he has a great arm. And I feel like this is enough to get the Indianapolis Colts on board to take him. With the number 10 overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons are a team that needs some help on defense, and I feel like this is where Trenton Simpson would work out really well for this team. I feel like he's probably the best coverage linebacker in the class and has great athleticism, which I feel like this is too good to pass up on with Trenton Simpson. I feel like this is where they're going to take him. With the number 11 overall pick, the Green Bay Packers have needs at wide receiver, and I feel like the best receiver on the board is Quentin Johnston. They could go tight end maybe, but I feel like Quentin Johnston is too good to pass up on. He has great athleticism and has great physical traits. He's really tall, really big, and is really fast. His route running can be improved upon, but I feel like he's just too good of a player to pass up on, and they need a number 1 wide receiver. The number 12 overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders can go in a variety of directions here. They could go offensive line, they could go on the defensive line, but I feel like Kelee Ringo is another one of their needs at corner, and I feel like he's the best cornerback in the class in my opinion. He has great athleticism, great height, great weight, and has great coverage, and I feel like and ball hawking skills, and I feel like this is a good place for the Raiders to snag him and get their true number 1 overall corner for the future. The number 13 overall pick after the Houston Texans took Bryce Young, I feel like they could go with their wide receiver number 1 to pair with Bryce Young, and this is where they will take Jordan Addison. I feel like he's an incredible player, has really good speed, really good athleticism too, and he's not the biggest of players, but he's really good. Even after transferring from Pitt, he's continued his success. Maybe not the best season here in USC, but definitely enough for scouts and the people in the Houston Texans front office to take him. With the number 14 overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that could go corner, and they could go offensive lineman. For me, it's between Joey Porter, whose dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is really cool, or Peter Skoronski, who is an offensive tackle who can play both offensive tackle and offensive guard. But I feel like with the family connection with Joey Porter, it's too good of a storyline, and I feel like I really want this to happen just because of the storyline with his dad and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I feel like they have a need at corner anyways, so why not take Joey Porter? The number 15 overall pick, the Detroit Lions are a team they have needs on the board here. They could go in a variety of directions, and I don't know. They could go Noah Sewell and get him paired up with his brother, but or they could go Brian Bresee to play on the interior of their defensive line, but they do have a bigger need at linebacker in my opinion, and they do need a really good true linebacker to really just monitor the middle of the field, and I feel like this is what Noah Sewell is. He's a hard-hitting, really good player, and I feel like this is where they snag him. The number 16 overall pick, I feel like the Chargers could go in a variety of directions. They could go Brian Bresee, or they could go with a wide receiver. But I believe I know this is a little weird of a pick, but I feel like this is where they'll snag Brian Bresee. They need some help on their defensive line, and I feel like this is where Brian Bresee comes into play. He's such a good player. He's one of the best high school prospects of all time at his position, and I feel like he can play inside or out, and I feel like this is where the Chargers take him. At the number 17 overall pick, the New England Patriots have some needs. They could go corner, and they could go wide receiver, but I feel like they do need that wide receiver number 1, and I feel like this is where Jackson Smith-Njigba comes into play. He hasn't played very much this season, but just because of his production last year, being the number 1 wide receiver over some great talents like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, who were both taken in the first round of last year's draft. And I feel like this is too good to pass up for the New England Patriots, and I feel like this is definitely their pick. The number 18 overall pick, the Washington Commanders, they after trading away William Jackson, they have a huge gaping need at corner. With Kendall Fuller and Benjamin St-Juste being their two corners right now, they need a third, and I feel like this is where Cam Smith comes into play. He's another one of those corners with good athleticism, good height, and good coverage. And I feel like he can become a lockdown corner for them. At the number 19 overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like with Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White playing incredibly well. Rachaad White has played all right for a rookie, but I feel like they have a need at running back, and this is where they snag probably the most generational player in the class in Bijan Robinson. He catches out of the backfield like a wide receiver, but he also runs like a true running back, and I feel like this is where they snag him. The number 20 overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks, they have some needs, but after taking Jalen Carter, they could double dip on defensive linemen. I feel like they could either go Christian Gonzalez or Tyree Wilson, but I feel like Christian Gonzalez, he has good height, good weight, good athleticism, and good coverage. I feel like this is a great player to pair with their young rookies, and I feel like this is where they take them. The number 21 overall pick, my Tennessee Titans. I feel like they have a huge need on offensive line, and Peter Skoronski is a player who can play offensive tackle or offensive guard. And I feel like this upside is huge for the Tennessee Titans, who have needs in both positions, and I feel like this is where they take Peter Skoronski. The number 22, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast. I need to make this video kind of shorter, and it's already becoming a long video, so just bear with me here. The number 22 overall pick, the New York Jets, they have some needs, but I feel like they could go with a defensive back here, and or they could go offensive tackle, but I feel like Brian Branch is too good of a player to pass up on. He's so fast down the field, really flies, and yeah, I feel like he's probably one of, if not the best player on the board right now. At the number 23 overall pick, the New York Giants have some needs. They have needs at some spots on the offensive line, but they do have a big need at wide receiver after trading away Kadarius Toney, and I feel like this is where Josh Downs comes into play. He's so fast on the field. I feel like this upside gets him taken here by the New York Giants. The number 24 overall pick, the Denver Broncos do have a need at edge rusher, and I feel like this is where Tyree Wilson comes into play. He has great athleticism, great length, and I feel like this is enough for him to get drafted by the Denver Broncos. At the number 25 overall pick, I feel like the Baltimore Ravens could go edge here, and I feel like this is where they will go with an edge rusher, and Isaiah Foskey. He has great sack totals, which transitions to the NFL, and I feel like this is where they take him. The number 26 overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals have a need at offensive tackle, obviously with some lackluster tackle play. I feel like this is where they take Broderick Jones, which is borderline number one tackle in the class. He's such a dominant player, obviously protecting Stetson Bennett, and yeah, I feel like this is where they take him. The number 27 overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys have some needs on the back end of their defense. They don't have a ton of young players down there. And, yeah, I feel like Antonio Johnson can be a great player for them, and I feel like this is where I'll go to them. The number 28 overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs have a need at running back. They could go for an upgrade over Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco, and I feel like this is where they take Jahmyr Gibbs, who is a great pass catcher and elusive back out of the backfield. At the number 29 overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings have some needs at wide receiver and at corner, but I feel like this is where they take Rashee Rice, who is a great player, great speed. I feel like this pairs well with Justin Jefferson's capabilities. At the number 30 overall pick, the Buffalo Bills need to build some more stuff up for Josh Allen on the offensive line. And I feel like this is where they take the best guard prospect in the draft here, and Osiris Torrance, who is just a dominating blocker, and I feel like he's just a good fit for this team. The number 31 overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles have a need at they could go in a variety of directions, but I feel like they can go Clark Phillips here at corner. They do need some players for the future, and I feel like this is where I'll go. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 20 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're super close. And anyways, yeah, thank you.